Affordable manual transmission cars are really dying away quickly, especially when you want something with a little bit of a lift to it. Unless you want to go into a full-on Bronco or a Wrangler, it's really this or you're down in hatchback. Now this is Impreza based, so you can still get the Impreza wagon at least here in 2023, but we already know that that's going to go away for 2024. And actually, as of the morning of this recording, they've announced that the 2024 Subaru Crosstrek is not going to have a manual transmission either. So if you want one, you got to get it now. So thank you to Schaller Subaru for letting me take this one out. You can see it's still got the wrapping on it. It's only got about 12 miles on this car. Let's go ahead and see what we've got here. This one here is the premium trim, but we'll talk about some of the differences between the premium and the base as we go. Note that you can only get the 6-speed manual if you want either a base or a premium. The upper trims, the bigger engine, those are not available in the 6-speed, CVT only. So here we've got about 105-inch wheelbase on 17s in both the base and the premium trim. No touch to unlock here, and we've actually got just a regular old key. And you would get black mirror caps if you're in the base, no integrated turn signals, but if you go with the all-weather package, which is only available on the premium, you do get heated mirrors, so that's definitely nice to have. I would opt for that here in New England. Roof rails up top, those are standard as well. No sunroof. If you want a sunroof, that is an option, but if you have to get the CVT if you want that. From the front, we've still got the wrapping paper on here, but we've got regular halogen headlights in both the base and the premium. You have to get either a limited or a hybrid if you want to get those LED headlights, and those are adaptive headlights too, so that would be nice. But again, CVT only in those trims. And we have the fog lights. That's going to differ between this one and the base. The premium gets you those fog lights. Nice looking front end, not too much cooling here. No turbocharger in this one or anything like that. It doesn't have to be like the massive grill with the big intercooler or anything like that. Nice little texture going on here. Kind of set this thing apart a little bit. It's not all just flat black. Back end here, nice taillight design. This pad here for when you're loading stuff in and out so you don't scratch up all the paint. Not too much going on back here, a little lip. And we're opening up, no keyless or anything like that. Got to use your hands. And we're opening up into 20.8 cubic feet of space. That's a upper end of hatchback territory, or if you pop those seats down and get the 60-40 split on those for about 53 cubic feet back there. And this one's got the cargo tray in it. Always a good option when you've got a car like this. Heading inside here, we've got cloth and plastics as expected at this price point, with a leather wrapped steering wheel and leather wrapped shift knob thanks to that premium trim level. The premium also gets orange stitching all around. These are also heated because that cold weather pack that is only available in the premium. Simple knobs for HVAC as well as a few buttons for infotainment. This 6.5-inch touchscreen is on both manual trim levels, the base and the premium, but this one gets a multimedia plus system. Feels a little dated here and there's a little bit of a lag, but the icons are large and it's simple and easy to use. Subaru also likes to add these informational screens up top here in the center dash. A few buttons here on the steering wheel, a couple for infotainment and cruise control. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both wired in this one, and we're running through a 6-speaker system instead of the base 4-speaker. If you want the manual, there is no premium option. Heading to the back, we're looking at 36.5 inches of legroom, which is pretty solid for something with the word subcompact in the name. And of course, I fit back here just fine at 5'7", sitting behind myself. Got a real handbrake. Sold already. Alright, so like I mentioned, we don't have a whole lot of options left when it comes to these manual transmission cars, especially if you want all-wheel drive with it. What are you going to get? You're going to get this or maybe a WRX. The GR Corolla and Golf R, those are kind of a different price point though. This, we're only around 25 grand, just under 25 grand. You can go front wheel drive hatchback, you lose a little bit of ground clearance. We're looking at 8.7 inches of ground clearance. It's a lifted Impreza essentially. You still do have the Impreza obviously as well, but you've got really, I think what this competes with is going to be hatchbacks at this point. The Corolla hatchback is gone in terms of manual transmissions. You've got the Mazda 3 hatchback. That's another maybe $2 or $3 grand on top of this premium trim, and it's front wheel drive only. Or you've got the Civic hatchback. That's probably going to be the best competitor, still front wheel drive only, but it does have about the same space as this, maybe even a little more space in the hatch. Again, you don't get the ground clearance, and you're talking about front wheel drive. Okay, so what is it like to drive? Well, it's an economy car. It feels like an economy car in here. The clutch pedal, very Subaru clutch pedal. If you don't want to know what that means, it's kind of, it's pretty light, but it's springy. It's got some feel to it. Bite point is way high up at the top. Not really a difficult manual, but the gearbox here is nice and mechanical feeling, nice and notchy. The throws are a little bit on the long side, but it really slots in nicely. It is so much better than the one in the Impreza. Now, I will say I've only been in the base Impreza, and that it's not the fact that it's a 5-speed. I actually like the gear ratios in the 5-speed Impreza. The issue is more just with slop in the gearbox. But I've heard that the short throw shifter in the sport trim helps a lot. I have only driven the base, like I mentioned, so I haven't driven that in sport form. Hopefully I can get a better comparison going here. But for this one here, it is actually a pretty good manual as far as manuals go in modern cars. In terms of how it drives, though, the thing with Subarus is they give you exactly what they are at face value. They're a little bit, they're sort of utilitarian. They do what they say they're going to do, and sort of nothing more, nothing less. At least that's sort of how I feel, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Especially up here in New England, you just want something that's going to be good in all weather. You want something that's good if you live on a bad road, need the extra drive wheels. It's got a great all-wheel drive system, but it is still a $25,000 car. We're not talking about a race car. We've got the base engine in this one, as I mentioned, 152 horsepower, 145 pound-feet of torque. Not going to be off to the races here, but it's only just under 3,200 pounds here in the manual transmission version, which is actually on the lighter side. It's on par with a lot of the hatchbacks of today, a lot of the front-wheel drive hatchbacks, so it's actually not too heavy. It's going to feel a little more underpowered if you're on the highway, but around town it's no big deal. When you're going camping on fire roads, whatever it is, not going to get off the highway. It's really loud in here. It's still an economy level car. You can't expect tons and tons of sound dead me, so I probably should get off the highway. But I'm going 60 miles an hour, hanging out about 2,500 RPM, so now I'm just on a different highway. Okay, much better here. It's still an economy sort of type car here, so 25 grand. The noise sound deadening is not crazy good on the highway or anything like that. There's quite a bit of noise, obviously, had to get off the highway, but ride quality not too bad, especially here on these smooth roads. I hope that if you're buying one of these, you're taking this on some less smooth roads and really stretching out that all-wheel drive system, because it is one of the better ones. But ride quality not too bad. Handling, this is not a sports car. It does have torque vectoring, so it does okay through the corners, and it does have an electric power steering, so we're talking about lighter steering, easy steering. This really is, it's a solid commuter car for your daily drive, especially, again, if you are driving through areas with some rougher terrain or you get lots of snow. You definitely still want to get snow tires, though, winter tires. Please don't replace winter tires with all-wheel drive. You definitely want to have good tires, too. And as far as fuel efficiency goes, for something that's considered a crossover, not too bad. We're looking at 22 city, 29 highway. The all-wheel drive system is going to contribute to that. But it's a naturally aspirated engine, and it doesn't have a whole lot of power, so it actually makes out pretty well. And it's on the lighter side, like I mentioned, so it actually makes out pretty well in terms of fuel economy, and that's 25 combined. Now, if you opt for the CVT, obviously you're going to get a little bit more efficiency since it doesn't have fixed gears It can kind of always be in that efficient spot. You get a couple more miles per gallon. Now, the other thing that you get with the CVT is Subaru makes you kind of choose whether you want the manual transmission or you want all these extra safety features. So your eyesight, which is their suite of safety features, the lane keep assist, the blind spot, the rear cross traffic, the option of doing adaptive cruise. You can't even option the adaptive cruise in the manual transmission, but I know a lot of people are kind of okay with that. Like, I would make that trade-off. I'd rather have the manual. I did make that trade-off. I bought a Forester a couple of years ago, but it's a little bit strange, a little bit frustrating that you can't get those safety features with the manual transmission, but not the end of the world. Just we used to not even ever have those safety features, so remember, those are aids. They're not supposed to replace your ability to drive anyway. And one thing I will mention in terms of the comfort levels, again, $25,000. We're not talking about Lexus here, but the seats here, you can only get the cloth seats. Because we're in the premium and we have the all-weather package on this one, it does have the heated seats. Definitely a nice touch to have those. But if you're taking this on longer trips, I mentioned I had a Forester. The longer trips do kind of start to hurt your back a little bit. So you can, I would probably want to have some kind of lumbar support added or something like that. The orange stitching, unfortunately, does not make them more comfortable. You got a little bit of rough terrain over here. Oh, New England potholes. Okay, so overall, like I said, it's really not anything unexpected. You get what you pay for in terms of interior amenities and things like that. You do unfortunately lose some of the safety features, but you also get you get to have the manual transmission. And as far as manual transmissions go out there, this is one of the only ones. I'm kidding. It is one of the better gearboxes out there when you're talking about economy level manual transmission. But it's nice having a little bit of feedback in the clutch pedal, and it's nice that it's a nice notchy gearbox. This is a dealer car, of course, so this one I don't have the full luxury of putting the car seats in, getting a full week of full week of time with it. So just some initial thoughts here on this one. But overall, it does what it says at face value. You got the utility. It's gonna do well if you're living somewhere where you really need that all-wheel drive system. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and share, and I will see you next time.